Yes.
So, we are starting with risk management, and we'll start. This is the overall risk management process, right? First, we'll start with the basic concept of what is risk and how it is different from issues, right? Initially, when we started the class, when we were discussing about 6 constraints, we discussed about the difference between issues and risk. Now, can somebody from you tell me what is the difference between a risk and an issue? What is the difference between a risk and an issue, guys?
Issue may be something that has been identified that has occurred, while risk could be something that we are foreseeing that could happen in near
Okay.
future.
So based on uh, Vishal's definition, risk is any uncertain event, right? Any uncertain event is a risk. Should it happen, will have either positive or negative impact on the project outcome. Now, I use the word positive and negative outcome. See, which means, there are two types of uncertainties, opportunities and threats. If opportunities materialize, the impact is positive, and if threats materialize, the impact is negative, right? So opportunities are positive risk, whereas threats are negative risk. Is that okay? Now, see, let's take an example. Suppose there is an outbreak of any disease in the town, like COVID or H1N1. Now, when there is an outbreak of such disease, you take preventive measures, right? You wear mask, you get vaccinated, you maintain social distancing. Now, you do all these, right, in response to a risk. Now, when you do all these measures, the probability of probability of risk turning into issue decreases or not? The likelihood of catching the disease, does it decrease?
It does.
It does, right? Now, this is responding to the risk. Now, if you don't respond to a risk, what will happen? It will turn into issue. You can catch COVID. Now, if you catch COVID, you have to resolve it. Now, tell me which is better? Based on this example, in this scenario, which is better? Responding to risk or resolving an issue?
Responding to risk is better.
Right? Responding to risk is better than, and a good project manager, an effective project manager should continuously identify risk, assess them, and respond to them. Right? Now, see, so I've shared the basic definition of risk. Right? We have taken some example of a risk. Right? Now, see, I'll take another example, which is not my example actually. It is not my example at all. See, I have a very, very senior trainer, right? Much senior than me. And, he was taking classes for me. And, I just entered to see how he teaches. And, he's a very senior guy. I think some of you might be aware of his name, Mridul Tandon. And, he was talking about the difference between risk and issues. And he gave one example, right? Which is completely his example, not mine. He said, a girlfriend is a risk and a wife is an issue. Are you able to interpret this? A girlfriend
Absolutely is.
right? So this is his example. And, in one of the session, he mentioned also, in one of the session, when he was describing the difference between issue and risk, his son-in-law was also there in the class. Now, let's go through the overall risk management process. The first step is to be ready with the rules of the game, plan risk management, which is actually, coming out with a risk management plan, right? There should be a proper risk management approach or strategy that tells you how you are going to manage the risk, right? How you are going to manage the risk from start to end of the project, right? In fact, this whole flow is also part of this document, risk management plan, right? It is more like risk management procedure, right? Now, for example, what kind of document you will use to record the risk and manage the risk? For example, generally to record the risk and to manage the risk, we use risk register. The format of the risk register will be defined in risk management plan. The tools and techniques that you are going to use to assess risk, right, or manage risk, they are also defined in risk management plan. How you are going to categorize the risk through a risk breakdown structure is also defined in risk management plan. The roles and responsibilities corresponding to various categories of risk is also defined in risk management plan, right? There is a concept of qualitative measurement, right? There's a risk is known by probability and impact. So the probability impact standard, right, are also defined in risk management plan. So this is more like rule book for or rules of the game for managing risk. And this is a part of project management plan. Now tell me, do you have to build this document risk management plan from scratch all the time, or can you reuse it from organizational process assets? Can you reuse it? Can it be reused, guys?
Yes, I think for similar kind of.
You can reuse it, you can modify it if required, right? Now, the first core process starts from identifying the risk. Now, identifying the risk means capturing the risk in the risk register. Now, tell me one thing. Should identifying a risk be a one-time process or an iterative process or a regular process? Capturing the risk in the risk register, is it a one-time process or a iterative process? You should constantly do it. Iterative, right?
Iterative, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, after you have captured the risk in the risk register, right? Should you straight away respond to risk? Is every risk worth responding to, or you should first assess the risk? Should you respond to risk, or should you first assess the risk?
We should first assess the risk.
Assess, because every risk might not be worth responding to.
Yes.
Now, in our lives as well, do we accept certain risk? Do we accept some risks?
Yes, Pankaj.
See, those risks which are very low probability and low impact, do we accept them or not? Yes or no? We accept them, right? So, but before responding, which risks to accept, which not to accept, first we have to assess. First, we have to assess the risk, right? Before we respond to them. Now, after capturing, we are going to assess the risk. Now, can you see two levels of assessment? Qualitative risk assessment and quantitative risk analysis. This is qualitative assessment and quantitative assessment. Now, there is a dotted line here from qualitative to quantitative. Can you observe a dotted line?
Yes, Pankaj.
The reason quantitative assessment is a dotted line, because see, quantitative risk assessment is a very tedious process, right? It involves techniques such as expected monetary value analysis, decision trees, right? Now, this process is not used for every risk. It is only used when the risks are catastrophic in nature. हाँ, नितिन आप आए नहीं क्लास में क्या? ठीक है, आ जाओ, ठीक है. So, quantitative risk assessment is an optional process. It is done only for catastrophic risk. We have techniques such as expected monetary value analysis, right? We have techniques such as sensitivity analysis. We have techniques such as Monte Carlo, right, which can be used for quantitative risk analysis, right? Qualitative risk analysis is done for every risk. Now, You can do qualitative risk analysis with numbers. You can do it without numbers also. Now, tell me guys, in a lot of projects, can you collaborate together, right, as a team? Can you collaborate together as a team and categorize risk as catastrophic, major, medium, and low based on the likelihood of happening and impact? Can you do a guesswork based on intuition, based on the basic knowledge? Can you categorize risk as major, medium, or low? Yes or no?
Yes, Pankaj, we can.
Right. Now, or you can collaborate and categorize. This is also qualitative risk analysis, or you can use numbers also. But for qualitative risk analysis, right, you will use relative numbers. Now, how the numbers are used? Would you like to see? Would you like to see how do we do qualitative risk analysis using numbers?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, let me show you. Just a second. I've opened a slide containing probability and impact matrix. Can you see the slide?
Yes, Pankaj.
Right. Now, can you see the rows for probability rating, like rare, unlikely, likely, probable? These rows are different probability rating, and the columns are impact rating, like insignificant, minor, moderate, major, and extreme. Is that okay? Can you see the probability rating and impact?
Yes, Pankaj, it is.
Now suppose a risk is rare and moderate. What is the number? What is the
4.
number? 4, right? Now, if the risk is probable and insignificant, what is the number?
4.
If the risk is
Have you started?
major, if the risk is major and rare, what is the score?
It's 8.
And this kind of probability impact matrix, in which document you will have this matrix? In the risk management plan, because risk management plan is a rule book, right? Now, based on this risk management matrix, can I create some rules? For example, all the risk, right, below 4 or below will be low risk. All the risk from 4 to 16 can be major risk, medium risk, right? Or all the risk from 16 to 32 can be major. Above 32 can be catastrophic. Can I create a rule, some set of rules like this? Right? For example, a risk which is almost certain and extreme is catastrophic in nature. Can we create such rules? Yes or no?
Yes, Pankaj, we can do that.
And this is
Sorry, which topic we have started?
risk management.
Okay.
Right? So Nitin, we are assessing the risks. Now risks are assessed in terms of probability and impact, right?
Yeah, Pankaj, actually I just joined, so can you just rephrase it?
Yeah, see, we know that risk can be assessed in terms of probability and impact, Nitin, right? See, before you respond to any risk, right, you should assess the risk, whether risk is major, medium, or low, right? Tell me, if the risk is very low, do you respond to it? Do we respond to low risks, or we just accept?
Yeah, we can just accept that.
Right, but if the risk is medium or major, we do respond to it, right? For example, when you go out, right, in a two-wheeler, right, outside your apartment, right? If you go out in two-wheeler, you will wear a helmet, right? That means you will respond to risk, right? By wearing the helmet, right?
Yeah.
Right? You have an accident insurance, you have a personal insurance, that means you're responding to risk, right? Because those risks are critical. So, one way is as a team, we can collaborate and simply assign major, medium, low to the risk, right? Another way is, a risk is always judged by chances of happening and the impact. If anyone is low, the risk become weaker. For example, see, if the impact of the risk is, let's say, major, if the impact of the risk is major, but probability is rare, right? The value is only 8. So both have to be high, likelihood and impact. Now, see, based on this table, which is a part of risk management plan, what we can do is we can categorize risk into various categories, right? For example, all the risk less than 4 can be low. In the range of 4 to 12 can be medium risk. 12 and to 32 can be major risk, and above that can be a catastrophic risk, right? Plus, we can also define our risk threshold and tolerance, right? What is a risk threshold? Have you heard about risk threshold? What is a risk threshold, guys? What is the risk threshold, guys? What is the risk threshold?
Minimum risk. Can we say?
No, see, yeah. The risk threshold means, if the risk is below the threshold, we can simply accept this, right? For example, there are two things. One is a threshold, another is a tolerance threshold. See, tolerance threshold is a very different thing. When we talk about tolerance threshold of a risk, it's a totally different thing, right? This is totally different, this tolerance threshold. But only threshold is, if the risk is below, if risk is below a certain level in terms of probability and impact, we can accept, right? That is risk threshold. Now, what is a tolerance threshold? Tolerance means, till the risk is within tolerance level or tolerance threshold level, we are allowed to manage the risk. Else we have to escalate. For example, now in this case, your rule book, your risk management plan says escalate any risk with a value greater than 16. Right? Escalate any risk with a value greater than 16. So tell me, as a project manager, if risk has a value of 32, will you accept or escalate? Sorry, will you manage or escalate? Will you manage or escalate, right? If the risk is 12, you will manage or escalate?
Manage, we will manage.
Right? Manage. Now, how to manage, we have not learned so far. We will learn. Now, suppose this is a risk register, right? Suppose this is a risk register. Now, tell me, if risk is likely and major, what is the value? If a risk is likely and major, what is the value? Look at this probability impact matrix. What is the value if risk is likely and major?
That's 24.
24, right? Likely and major is 24. Should we escalate or manage as per this rule?
Escalate.
Escalate.
I did not get how come we are comparing
Likely, major. What is the value?
okay,
What is the value here?
24.
24. And if risk is greater than 16, we have to do what? Escalate. Probable and major. What is the value of probable and major? This is probable. This is major. What is the value?
32.
Escalate or manage?
Escalate.
Escalate, right? Likely and moderate. Likely and moderate. What is the value?
12.
12. Escalate or manage?
Manage.
Manage, right? So this is how the rules are created with respect to risk management. And all of this that we have discussed is a qualitative risk assessment. This is qualitative. This is qualitative risk assessment, right? Now, in more than 90% of the case will not be going with quantitative risk assessment. See, this is only done for catastrophic risk and is a very tedious process, right? So what I'm going to do is, first I'll take you through the overall process, right? Once the process is done, then we'll discuss about quantitative risk analysis techniques, right? Now, after you have assessed the risk, will you plan the responses, right, to manage the risk? After the risk has been assessed, you will plan responses to manage the risk, right? Now, let's see, how can you respond to positive and negative risk? First, we'll see how can we respond to negative risks. Now, let's see how we can respond to negative risk, right? Now, what is the first option? Mitigate. See, mitigate means reduce. Now, when you apply mitigate as a strategy, you will either reduce the likelihood of happening of the risk or impact, right? Mitigate means reduce. This response strategy will not eliminate the risk, it will only reduce it, right? Now, an example of mitigate. See, my project is very, very important, right? Deliveries are very, very critical, right? So in order to manage the project better, we have hired some subject matter expert because technical and domain complexity both were very high. Now, when we hire domain expert and technical experts, obviously the likelihood of success will improve.
One thing, this technical or domain, aspect, it's both are same, na?
See, domain people are people who have functional knowledge. If I am doing project in an insurance domain, people who are very strong in insurance domain are required, right?
Okay.
If they are not required, the implication will be the same. Dekho, Infosys completely damaged the project for income tax. Right? The income tax portal was designed by Infosys, which was completely damaged, right, by Infosys. It was delayed very badly, and there were many errors. We all know it, right? And one of the reasons was domain expert were missing, right? People who know how taxation work have to be part of it, right? So these are domain people.
Okay.
Technical people are people from the technology background.
Got it.
And both are required when you are doing a project which is complex, both in terms of domain and technology, right?
Okay, all right.
Now tell me, if we have such people in the team, will it eliminate risk or will it reduce risk? With such people,
Reducing the risk.
right? Still project can fail. So it will reduce the likelihood of failure also, and it will reduce the impact, both. Yes or no?
Yeah.
It will reduce the probability of failure also and impact also. Is that okay? This is one example of mitigate. Another example, suppose you are planning to construct a house, right, in a place which is prone to earthquakes. Now you used earthquake resistant material, right, to build your house. Now tell me, when you use earthquake resistant material, will it mitigate your risk? And will it mitigate probability, or will it reduce probability or impact? If I use earthquake, see, if my risk is that, I am planning to construct house in a place which is prone to earthquakes. So I am using earthquake resistant material. Now, will it reduce the probability or impact? Tell me, guys, you have to tell me answer.
Impact.
See, yes, only impact, right? Because, we don't have any control.
Can you please come again your question?
Dekho, if we are planning to construct house in a place which is prone to earthquakes,
Okay.
right? Now, if I use as a mitigation measure to reduce the risk, I use earthquake resistant material to build my house, right? Now, by doing this, am I reducing the probability or the impact, or both?
Both.
देखो, probability, earthquake की probability पे आपका कोई control नहीं है, नितिन. Earthquake पे क्या control है आपका?
पंकज, earthquake की probability पे control नहीं है, but probability of house falling down or getting cracks could be reduced, right?
Yes, impact will be reduced, right?
No, probability also will be reduced of house getting damaged, not of obviously like earthquakes.
Therefore, probability of house getting damaged or impact of the earthquake will be reduced. See, because see my earthquake, what is my risk? My risk is earthquake, right? Earthquake can still come, but the impact will be reduced. But
Okay.
you are right in a sense, but no, but you're right in that sense also, right? The probability of house falling down, right? And the impact will also be reduced. Yes. You can say in, if in terms of that also.
Okay.
Right. Now, these were some examples of mitigate, right? Again, mitigate means reduce. Now see, whenever we mitigate, we use mitigate or reduce as a strategy. Some amount of risk will always remain. Some amount of risk will always be remaining, right? That remaining risk is called as residual risk, right? The risk that will be remaining after taking mitigation as a strategy, right, will be a residual risk, right? Now, see again, should you respond to a residual risk or should you accept the residual risk? It depends on your risk threshold, right? Now, avoid. What is avoid? Avoid means eliminate. Can you eliminate a risk? In the previous example, suppose I decide not to construct house in a place which is prone to earthquakes. Have I eliminated the risk? Right? Or I decided to live in a rented apartment, decided not to construct my house. Then also I have avoided the risk. Right? So when I take avoid as a strategy for responding to risk, the residual risk will always be equal to 0. Is that okay? Will residual risk be equal to 0 when I take avoid as a strategy, guys? Now, can you give me any other example of avoid? Any other example of avoid? Now, I'm taking one more example. Suppose I am planning to get a software application developed, right? The requirements were complicated. So if the requirements of this software application is complicated, it's a risk. So, I decided to buy a readily available component in the market, right, which has a proven success. So instead of developing it, the application myself, I came to know that there is a readily available application available, which is proven, tested, bug-free. Now, in this case, by buying that application, have I avoided the risk? Have I eliminated my risk of development? Tell me, guys, have I eliminated the risk or not?
Yes.
So whenever I use avoid as a strategy, the residual risk will always be equal to 0, right? Now, transfer. Can I transfer my risk to third parties? Can I transfer my risk to third parties, guys? Can I transfer my risk to third parties?
Yes.
Yes. When you buy
Maybe like
insurance,
to other vendor, supplier, like this.
yeah. Or see, first basic example is when you buy insurance, do you transfer your risk to insurance companies?
Correct.
When you buy, right?
Yes.
You transfer. Now, second, when you sometimes the work is complex, complicated, and there are risk associated with the work, you outsource the work to third parties, right? To vendors and suppliers. But when you outsource the work to vendor or supplier, it does not become transfer unless and until in the contract or in the agreement you have a penalty clause, right? Unless and until you have penalty clause in the contract, it doesn't become transfer, right? So transfer means transferring the risk to third parties, right? Now, as I told you, when risk is below a certain threshold, you accept it, right? When the probability of happening of risk is very low, or the impact, you accept, right? You don't. Now, we have discussed mitigate, avoid, transfer, and accept, right? The last one for the last strategy for responding to threats is contingent response strategy. Right? Now, what is contingent response strategy? They're also known as fallback, right? Now, fallback plan, right, or fallback, it means if plan A fails, plan B, right? Now, for example, business continuity and disaster recovery planning is an example of contingent response strategy. If plan A fails, then I have a plan B also, right? For example, I have taken subscription of Zoom and we are getting training on Zoom. But as a backup plan, I have a subscription of MS Teams also, so that if Zoom server is down, we can have this training from MS Teams. This is contingent response strategies, right? Is that okay, guys? Are you okay with all the strategies on how to respond to threats? So if you are okay, can we do a case study on how to respond to threats or negative risk? Can we do a very simple case study?
Yes, Pankaj.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do a scenario so that your understanding is better. Now, can you see my screen on match the following? Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
Yes, Pankaj. Yes,
Now,
yes.
see, in the new PMP exam, you will have questions on match the following also, right? In the new PMP exam, there will be questions on the match the following also, right? Now, this question is, about a scenario, right? The project is in stage 2. The project manager has heard about the possibility of a competitor also producing a calendar to be delivered earlier than target date for this project, right? So there is a possibility that one of your competitor is also planning to come out with the same product or same promotional plan as you, right? There is a threat that the competitor might release their calendar, right? Right, earlier than you. If the competitor releases their product or their promotion, the same promotion earlier than you, then it may weaken your project, right? The whole effort will become futile. Does it happen? When you and your competitor are about to come out with the same thing, right? It can be a same promotional scheme, it can be a same product, right? If the competitor comes to know about this and he launches his scheme or product earlier than you, will it impact your project, guys? Will it impact your project or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Now, in this scenario, see, this is the risk. Now, based on this risk, what they have done is they have given description of risk responses. Right? These are the description of risk responses, right? You have to map it to the correct response strategy. You have to tell whether this risk response description is avoid or reduce or fallback or transfer, accept or share. You have to match the following. And right, multiple options in on the left side, right, can map to the same on column 2. It is many to one relationship, right? So I'll give you 3 minutes. First, try to do this question yourself, then we'll discuss it together. Can we start?
Yes, Pankaj.
Record the risk in the risk register and monitor the situation. Now, what is this strategy? Are we doing anything or we are just monitoring?
We are just monitoring here.
So
not
when I
doing
say
anything.
it is accept, we're not doing anything. We have accepted the risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Pankaj.
This is we have accepted. Decide not to complete. Sorry, decide not to compete and cancel the project. What should be this?
Is it fallback? See,
अरे कुछ कर ही नहीं रहे हम काम हम अलग हो गए बिल्कुल. Is it not avoid? We have withdrawn. देखो
Okay.
fallback में हमेशा situation होगा if plan A fails, plan B.
Mhm.
Right? So decide not to compete and cancel the project. Is it? What is this? It is avoid. Right? We are avoiding the risk. The third one, bring the target date of the project forward.
Reduce.
Reduce, mitigate, right? We are rescheduling the project to our earlier date. Now answer this carefully. Wait for confirmation of rival's calendar. And if required, include additional gift with calendar as a. Is it not plan B?
Fallback.
This is fallback, right? Now, carry on with the project as planned.
Sorry, I did not understand this fourth one.
See, wait for the confirmation of rival's calendar, right? So, let him release earlier, right? And if required, include additional gifts with the calendar as an incentive. Now, if he releases earlier than you, right? Then this is your plan B. So when you say if plan A fails plan B, this becomes fallback or contingent response strategies, right? So fourth is C Charlie, fallback. Now carry on with the project as planned on the basis that MNO manufacturing company calendar is believed to be a better quality. Is it not being overtly optimistic? Is it again accept or not? You're not doing anything, you're accepting the risk. Is it accept or not? Tell me, is it accept or not? Is fifth accept? Fifth accept, right? Do you agree?
Right.
Now, I think you still need to be more comfortable with this. So I'm taking one more case study, right? Can we do one more case study?
Yes.
Can you try this? Can we start, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, who will describe me what is now first? Who will describe me what is this risk? Who will describe me what is the risk here?
The competency of the internal team for restructuring.
And also in dealing with such kind of a project, right?
Yeah.
Right. And also, they, first of all, they don't have they have not managed such kind of projects before, and also how to manage, the external supplier that we have, right?
Right.
So they don't have competency regarding this restructuring project. They don't know how to deal with selected external supplier. Plus, it can result into a new software solution that does not solve the purpose, right? Now, we know the risk, right? Now, the first one, contract a restructuring specialist to take an assurance role in the project and provide advice to the project board and project manager, right? So see, when I say this contract, it is not a contract with third party. This means we are hiring a subject matter expert on contract. Now tell me, when we hire subject matter expert, right? What happens? Does it help us to, does a subject matter expert help us to reduce or mitigate the risk or not? So the first one should be Bravo or not? First one, should it be Bravo? Because some people might have, some people do what? They see contract, and the moment they see contract, they say transfer. Don't do it. See, this is not contracting to third party. It is you are hiring a subject matter expert on temporary basis. And when you hire a subject matter expert on temporary basis, it helps you to mitigate or reduce the risk. Is that okay? Is that okay, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, what should be the second one?
Share or transfer, sorry.
Right? Is it transfer?
Yes.
See, and whatever, this is an example of a penalty clause. See, include a clause in the contract. Now, this is a penalty clause in the contract with selected external supplier, stating that if full functionality of the software is not delivered, the selected external supplier will reduce their fee accordingly. Is this transfer or not? Right? You're transferring your liabilities and penalties to the vendor. The third one, hire experienced restructuring contractors to assist, right, throughout the project. Again, you are hiring subject matter expert. Again, you're hiring a subject matter experts. So when you hire SMEs, what happens? Reduce, right? So be Bravo. What should be the fourth one? What should be the fourth one?
Fallback.
अरे सर आप ओवर ट्रस्ट कर रहे हो, एक्सेप्ट किया कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे आप, ये ओवर ट्रस्ट कर रहे हो, this guy will not cheat me. So is it not accept? Right? Now, fifth one, look at fifth one. Request assistance from
Pankaj, I did not understand this fourth one.
सर कोर्ट में कुछ कर ही नहीं रहे हो आप कर रहे हो कि यार मेरा कस्टमर तो बहुत अच्छा है, मेरा सप्लायर तो बहुत अच्छा है, राइट? वो कभी गंदा काम ही नहीं करेगा, यही बोल रहे हो ना फोर्थ में? तो इसका मतलब क्या है? आप एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हो रिस्क को?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Correct. Got it.
Fifth.
So E na, fourth ka E.
Fourth is B. Sorry, fourth is E. Echo. Yes.
E na. Okay. All right.
Now, fifth one. Request assistance from the central government if difficulties arise in understanding what is happening.
This is plan B, right?
It's a plan B. Absolutely.
Fallback.
Fallback. Absolutely fallback. Right. So fifth is plan B, fallback. Right. Now we're going back to the presentation. Now this is how we can respond to negative risk or threats. Right. Now see, there is also a concept called as secondary risk, right? Whenever you respond to a primary risk, a new risk is generated, which is called as secondary risk, right? For example, if I have hired few subject matter expert to mitigate the risk, right?
So
Now,
can we say secondary to like as a dependent also? Huh?
not dependent exactly
Or
because of this. See, for example, suppose, I hire some subject matter expert in my
so
project.
I mean that another risk is generated because of that first risk
Uh,
we accepted,
yes,
huh?
yes,
Okay.
right. For example, see, tell me, suppose in order to mitigate the risk, right, because the project is complex, you hire some subject matter expert. Now, your one risk will be decreased, but there will be new risk, which is cost. The cost will
Cost
be,
exactly.
right. So this is called as secondary risk, right? Anyways, now we have discussed strategies for negative risk or threats. Can we discuss how to respond to positive risk or opportunities? Now, let's discuss how we can respond to positive risk or opportunities. One way to respond to opportunities is enhance. Now, tell me, when it is a threat, you try to reduce it. But when it is an opportunity, will you like to reduce the chances of happening, or would you like to increase the chances of happening and the impact? So enhance in case of opportunity is actually completely opposite to reduce. Enhance means you are trying to increase the likelihood of happening of an opportunity, right? Or the impact, or both, right? Now, is enhance clear to you? Is enhance clear to you?
No, Pankaj.
देखो opportunity है ये, opportunity को enhance करना है.
You mean negative risk, huh?
ये तो positive risk है ना, opportunity की बात हो रही है.
Okay, good. Okay.
देखो positive risk को, opportunity को आप enhance करोगे या reduce करोगे?
Enhance.
Enhance करोगे. Now enhance means either you are increasing the probability or the impact, right? Now let me take one example here. Suppose your customer says that customer will give you incentive of 5 million US dollars if you deliver the project 1 month earlier, right? The customer says he will give you extra 5 million US dollars if you deliver the project 1 month earlier than the planned date. Now tell me, is it an opportunity or not? Is it an opportunity to earn more or not?
Yeah, definitely it's an opportunity.
So when you now, in order to complete the project earlier, you do all the thing, all the possible things, right? For example, you
Resource increase.
you motivate the resource, you announce reward schemes, right? You reward, right? So that the chances of delivering the project 1 month earlier and getting extra 5 million US dollar increases. This is called as enhance, right? In this case, you are trying to enhance the probability of getting this award, right? This is enhance, right? Is that okay?
Yeah. So,
Now, another example, suppose, uh, you are about to launch a product, right? And your competitor is also about to launch the product almost around same date. You reschedule the project to an earlier date. When you reschedule the project to an earlier date, you might skip some level of testing also though, right? By descoping the project. So when you reschedule the project to earlier date, the likelihood of getting more revenue or likelihood of success, will it increase or not? Because generally first mover advantage will be there if you are able to launch your product first, right? This is called as enhance. This is enhance, right? So is enhance clear to all of you? In the second case, both probability and impact will go up, right? Any questions on enhance, guys? Are you okay with enhance?
Yes, Pankaj. It's good.
Right. Now, exploit. See, exploit is opposite to avoid. In avoid, you eliminate the risk. In exploit, you say, okay, I'll not leave any stone unturned. I have to make sure that I have to make it 100% sure that I should, tap this opportunity. That is exploit. So, it's more aggressive than enhance. For example, if customer has said that, I'll give you a reward of $5 million US, right? Now what you will, you will do everything to get those $5 million US. You will do whatever you do in enhance, but you may ask, you may push your team very hard. You may announce reward, motivate the team, plus you will push team very hard. You will ask them to come extra. You will ask them to put extra hours on regular basis, right? You will do whatever you can do to get the award, right? This is exploit. Any question about exploit?
Pankaj, is exploit a good practice?
No bad. Slightly aggressive. So aggressive. See, exploiting is, trying to tap as much as possible from an opportunity. So people who exploit, see, I'll not say, by appetite, a risk can, by risk, every organization has a risk appetite. Based on risk appetite, a person can be a risk seeker, risk neutral, or risk averse. Generally, risk seekers will go with exploit, right?
Pankaj, can we understand with one more example this exploit?
अरे आप HCL में काम करते हो ना,
Mhm.
राइट? कितने दिन आप 14-15 घंटे ऑफिस में रहते हो? How many days in a month you spend 14 to 15 hours in office? Is there anyone who consistently spent 14 to 15 hours in office or has spent for more than 6 weeks?
No.
अच्छा, आप 8 घंटे 6 घंटे काम करने वाले हो?
No, not 6 hours.
So anybody who has worked constantly for more than 14 hours on regular basis for more than 6 weeks, is there anybody here? No one? So nobody is facing this exploit as a strategy, right? Exploit means, you have to make it 100% sure that you should get it. So you will do everything, right? Right? You will hire more talented resource, you will announce reward, you will motivate them, if required, you will call them extra hours, but the goal is to get things done. You should get it. Are you getting it or not?
Yes, Pankaj.
Right?
Yeah.
This is exploit. Right? For example, right? Many times sales people are given targets, right? We don't, the management says, we don't know anything, right? This is the target given to everyone. For example, target for every person is, let's say, $10 million US. You have to achieve it somehow. So that is exploit actually. Now, if you want to understand exploit in more details, you can talk to sales team of Byju's or Upgrade or these people, or simply learn. इनमें से किसी से ही बात कर लो एक्सप्लॉइट क्या होता है, समझ आ जाएगा. Byju's की sales team से बात कर लो, what is exploit, they will explain you very nicely. Have you interacted with the sales team of Byju's?
I mean, this means like exploitation of the team or exploitation of the opportunity.
देखो ultimately क्या होता है, opportunity को exploit करते करते team भी exploit हो जाती है.
Yeah, जो last की 2 lines लिखी हुई है ना यहाँ पे, that you hire talented resource to the project to
वो
reduce
एक
time
वो भी एक
and
चीज है,
or
लेकिन
to for
देखो
better quality.
देखो talented resource can be done in enhance also.
हाँ, तो मतलब that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not looking at
देखो
talented
इसमें
resources.
यहाँ पे
I'm just
एक
looking for the outcome basically.
देखो यहाँ पे क्या है, देखो enhance में you only increase the likelihood, but there is not it's not 100% guaranteed that you will achieve that target, right?
Okay.
You will be proactive, but here you want to achieve it, right? You want to make it 100% sure that the customer has said, if I deliver 1 month earlier, I should get it, I must get it. So that must is missing in enhance, but is there in exploit. So when the targets are must to achieve targets, right? So, yes, you are exploiting the opportunity, but indirectly some people will also get exploited.
But if people are getting exploited, can we expect better quality than originally planned?
देखो बहुत प्रेशर में एक लेवल तक तो आ जाती है, बट मेरे हिसाब से लॉन्ग रन में इम्पैक्ट होता है.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, exploit in sense, right? So we took an example which has which is more to do with revenues, right? Now, exploit can be sensed in the sense of quality also, right? For example, if quality is a target, then slightly different. But again, exploit means to make sure that this opportunity is tapped for sure, right? That's why I said it's totally opposite to avoid. Now, share. But again, this is exploiting an opportunity, not people. But indirectly, if people get exploited, that's a different thing altogether, right? Now, share. Share the pain, share the gain, right? If there is a opportunity that involves huge investment, if there is an opportunity that involves huge investment, right? Now tell me, is it beneficial to do this project as a joint venture or JV rather than doing it yourself? Now, when you do it as a joint venture, what is the benefit? What if the project involves huge investment? If you do it as a joint venture with some partner, what is the benefit?
Risk is shared.
The threats are shared, because cost is shared.
Yeah.
Though profits are also shared, right? So this is more like you share the pain and you share the gain also. This is share, right? Now, the last strategy is accept. What is accept? See, some people by nature are risk averse. They say, I'm happy and contented the way I am, right? They don't go after an opportunity. If opportunity automatically clicks, it's okay, but they will not be pursuing any opportunity, right? They will say, I'm happy and contented with the business that I have currently, right? This is accept. Now, generally, people who are risk averse, right? Risk averse is an appetite. People who don't have, affinity towards, risk. They try to avoid risk. People who are risk averse, they will be accepting the risk. However, people who are risk seeker and neutral, right? For example, risk seekers will exploit, right? People who are risk neutral, they will use enhance or share as a strategy, right? So whether you use enhance or exploit or share or accept for an opportunity, right? It depends on your risk appetite. Are you a risk seeker? If you're a risk seeker, you will exploit. Are you a risk neutral? If you're a risk neutral, you will either enhance or share. If you're a risk averse, you will accept, right? Accept is more like a reject actually. So is it clear how do we respond to opportunities or positive risk? Is it clear? How do we respond to positive risk or opportunities? Is that okay, guys?
Yes.
Now, let's go to the, see, suppose you have planned responses to the risk. What is the next step? What should be the next step? Now, let's go to the flow again. Now, after your risk response plans are ready, will you be implementing the risk response plans? Will you be implementing the risk response plans, guys? And you will be monitoring the risk, right? Now, when I say implement the risk response plan, what does it mean? What does it mean when I say implement risk response plan? What is the
communicate every team member what is the plan, and if the risk arises, that how to respond to it.
okay? Now let's take an example. Suppose a risk is team. The risk is team may not be on board on time. See, suppose you have to start a project in a very short time frame. Suppose you have to start a project in a very short time frame, and the risk is team might not be on board on time. Is it a risk or not?
Yeah, it's a risk.
Right. Now, in order to, now you will try to reduce this risk. Now, in order to reduce this risk, right, you will take multiple action items. For example, the action item is, somebody from, because since you are about to start a project internally, somebody should evaluate how many people can be resourced internally, right, and how many have to be hired from outside. So there should be an action item that somebody should do it. Second action item, for the people who have to be hired externally, somebody from resourcing, right, should start actively searching and start scheduling the interviews, right? Third, somebody from your team, right? Somebody from delivery team should be, some people from the delivery team should be assigned for interviewing the people, right? Fourth action item is, based on the success or failure of the interviews, the offer letter should be floated. Then, there should be a constant, right, follow up with the selected candidates, right? Then, what all you will do for to make the people join. So, these are all action items, and they should be assigned, individual action items are assigned to risk actionees, right? So this is meant by implement risk response. They all have to be implemented, right? But for that, your risk response, you should have your risk responses, like whether you're using mitigate or avoid or fallback, it has to be broken down into number of action items, right? Is that okay? So should we have different action items like this or not? Divya, what do you think? Should we have action item corresponding to this response plan?
Yes, sir.
Right? And then you have to monitor the risk on regular basis, right? How do we monitor the risk? How do we manage? See, again, in project, you can have individual risks, right? But, at a project level, there can be multiple risks. Now, how likely it is that, you are trying to reduce a particular risk, and because your focus is so much on one risk, the other risks get increased. How likely it is? Tell me, guys, how likely it is that you are so focused on mitigating or reducing one risk, and as a result of this, the other risks get increased. Does it happen or not?
Yeah, it's very likely.
Right. So can we see it through an example? Right. I am opening an Excel sheet. Now, can you see the Excel sheet, guys? Can you see the Excel sheet?
Yes, Pankaj, it is visible.
Now, so can you see the risk A? What is the probability of risk A?
0.8.
0.8. What is the impact?
0.8.
What is the expected value?
0.64.
Now, suppose, I have implemented a mitigation plan, right? Now, suppose this risk was timeline risk. The timelines are very stringent, right? And, in order to mitigate this risk, I have hired some highly skilled people, 1 or 2 extra resources also, right? So that this risk is reduced. Now, when I have applied my mitigation strategy, right? The same risk. Now, what is the probability of slippage? Because I have hired subject matter experts, some better skilled resources, right? And maybe 1 or 2 extra resources. Has the probability gone down from 0.8 to 0.2? Has the probability gone down, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
What about the impact? Let's say impact remains same, or we can decrease the impact also, right? Let's make impact as, because now the team is better, so impact will also be less if this threat happens, right? Let's take it as 7. So the EMV becomes 0.14. Now tell me, should we be really happy about the whole situation? We have reduced the risk from 0.64 to 0.14. Should we be very happy?
Yes, we should be.
Okay, so how many of you feel that we should be very happy because we have reduced the risk from 0.64 to 0.14? Ishan, should we be happy? Isha, should we be happy that we have reduced the risk from 0.64 to 0.14?
So it means we mitigated that impact, no? Correct?
Right. So what we are not realizing it, by doing, we have done this okay, but at the same time there is a risk B which has happened. Risk B is what? The cost. The cost, right? Because we have added highly skilled resource and some additional resource. There is a cost risk also. Suppose cost risk is 0.8, 0.8, 0.64. Right? Now tell me, the total risk becomes 0.78 and it was 0.64. Now actually by taking this mitigation step for risk A, have we increased the total risk or not? Have we increased the total risk or not?
Yes, it has.
It is increased.
Right. So many times it happened. See, again, for example, if it was like this 0.3, let's say 0.5, or let's say this is 0.15, right? If these were the numbers, it's okay, right? It is okay now. From 0.64, it is decreased, right?
Yes, but Pankaj, in this situation, the impact is increasing. So is that fine to accommodate the increased impact?
Which one?
Like if
See,
you see the impact has increased, like if you see from
this is the initial situation, 0.8 into 0.8, right?
right.
But when you implemented the mitigation measure, right, both probability and impact will go down.
Yes.
The skilled team, the delays will be lesser.
Yes.
But it should be, see, when you mitigate the risk with some extra resources or some highly talented or skilled resources, it should be taking the risk B also into consideration, which is a cost risk, right? Now, if I blindly think about, only mitigating the timeline risk and have hired best of the resources and, some additional people, my cost risk might be very high. Now, if this is the situation, then, This is the cost risk, risk B. And the total risk becomes how much? 0.78. I have taken a mitigation measure. By taking this mitigation measures, I have increased the project level risk. So tell me, should I focus on individual risk or a total risk?
The total project risk.
Right? So, you know,
But
that's
again, my question is, Pankaj here, like in this case, we are not hiring that SME or that expert, na? We are compromising here with the resource, right?
compromising कहाँ कर रहे हैं हम? हमने तो
See,
हायर कर लिया रिड्यूस करने के लिए टाइमलाइन रिस्क को. See, what was the risk? Timeline risk. Probability, this, impact this, EMB this. But now see, in order to mitigate this risk, we had some additional resources and subject matter expert in the team. उससे क्या हुआ? Timeline risk तो कम हो गया हमारा. Can you see this? 0.64 से 0.14. but एक नया रिस्क शुरू हो गया कॉस्ट का.
हाँ.
0.64. अब टोटल रिस्क मेरा बन गया प्रोजेक्ट का क्या? 0.78. पहले क्या था टोटल रिस्क? 0.64 था खाली.
हाँ.
तो हमने काम भी किया और रिस्क और बढ़ा दिया. So that's the reason why we have to monitor project level risk on regular basis.
अभी नंबर डिफरेंट था ना, 0.29 था अभी आपने डाला.
वो मैंने इसलिए किया था कि मैं ये बताने के लिए कि देखो कॉस्ट को भी बहुत तरीके से हमें बढ़ाना होगा.
हाँ, नहीं, मैं वही उसी पॉइंट पे आ रहा हूँ.
अब मैं दूसरे तरीके से करता हूँ. अब मैं बोलता हूँ कि यार मैं रिस्क को इतना नहीं कम करता 0.2 और 0.7. Why? Because for that I have to spend a lot of money. So what I'll do is ठीक है, एक काम करते हैं, रिस्क को 0.4 रख लेते हैं, इसे इतना करते हैं कि ये 0.6 हो जाए, राइट? और इम्पैक्ट लेट्स से 0.7 है जो इम्पैक्ट है, राइट? और ये हो गया कितना? 0.35. इसको करने के लिए अब मैंने बहुत रिड्यूस नहीं किया, थोड़ा रिड्यूस किया, बट टू रिड्यूस दिस लेवल आई डोंट नीड वेरी एक्सपेंसिव रिसोर्सेज एंड एडिशनल रिसोर्सेज. और यहाँ पे जो रिस्क बी कॉस्ट का आएगा वो कम आ गया 0.3, 0.5 आ गया सपोज, राइट? अब टोटल रिस्क क्या हो जाएगा देखो, 0.5. अभी कम हो रहा है ना रिस्क, right? So what I'm trying to say is we cannot focus too much on one dimension. देखो, we cannot focus so much on one dimension, right? One area.
पंकज, इधर हम ये टैलेंट को लेके कंप्रोमाइज नहीं हो रहा है यहाँ पे हमारा.
अरे देखो प्रोजेक्ट देखो, मैं आपको एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल बताता हूँ इसका, बहुत राइट, छोटा सा. I'll give you one example here. देखो, सब कुछ बढ़िया आपको नहीं मिलेगा. आपको you have to reduce the overall risk. Now I'll take very simple example. देखो, I'll take one real time example from here. See, I started off my career with a company called as Samsung India, right? And in Samsung India, we used to recruit a lot of graduate engineer trainees. When I was around 1.5 years old in the organization, we went to REC Kurukshetra. We recruited some people from there, right? And one very bright guy from there was Rajiv Behel, right? Now, Rajiv Behel came to me, right, as a part of my team, right? I was only senior. I was only engineer actually. He was a GT. Now, Rajiv was very meticulous about work. He would always seek for perfection. He want everything to be perfection, right? If he will do even a small mistake, very small mistake, right? He will come to me and say, sir, feeling very bad. गलती हो गई, बहुत बुरा लग रहा है, बहुत बुरा लग रहा है. अब जब वो ऐसे बोलता था तो मैं उसकी तरफ ऐसे देखता था यार कि मतलब ये क्या चीज है यार. मतलब see, I make so many mistakes, but I am least bothered about it. He is making very small mistake and still feels so bad about it. He would try to be absolute perfectionist, to be right. अब क्या हुआ? Over the period of time, I quit Samsung, right? He would have also left, but after 3-4 years, I met somebody. He said, do you know about Rajiv Behel? No, I am not in touch. He said he committed suicide because of some official problem.
Oh, okay.
देखो, बहुत बारी क्या होता है ना, आप when you focus too much on one area, you damage other areas. And the same thing is applicable to project also. Do we have to balance scope, time, cost, risk, quality or not? Or should we focus on only on one dimension? Tell me.
Yeah, got it now.
Yes or no?
Yeah, correct.
Right. देखो, I know a guy who came to me for a PGMP training. I would not like to know, take his name. A workaholic guy with IBM. Workaholic guy. Very meticulous, very good in his work. But see what happened? Long sitting hours. Right? Get diabetes. Abhi, just 2 months ago, his toe was amputated because of diabetes. So, in order to mitigate the risk of the job, he has increased other risks like health risk, right? So same thing is applicable to project. So वो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ आपसे, इसलिए अब आ रहे हैं risk profile graph की तरफ. As a part of risk monitoring, we create a risk profile graph like this. Can you see a risk profile graph, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, in this risk profile graph, do you see that total risk is decreasing like this? Right? And you might be noticing see all these different colors are individual risk. See, if individual risk is going up, it's okay. Right? Some risk will go up, but the focus should be that total risk should decrease like this. Right? Now, this graph is from this data. In this graph, the y-axis is total risk and the x-axis is month. First month, second month, third month, fourth month, right? It has been made from this data. Now, can you see the data? Right? For example, these are individual risks. JDBC driver performance, calling Oracle stored. These are all individual risks, right? And these are total risk, right? So my focus should be that, as I'm moving from January to February to March, my total risk should decrease, right? I can sacrifice individual risks, but my total risk should decrease. So as a part of risk monitoring mechanism, this risk profile is a very, very important tool. So are you getting the gist of what should we do when we monitor the risks? See, we should audit our risk register. We should see whether total risks are going down, right? The focus should be that as we move forward in the project, the overall project risk should go down. Is it fine, guys?
Yes, Pankaj, it is.
Right. Yeah, Vishal, are you okay with this?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, can we discuss? We didn't discuss about quantitative assessment of risk so far, right? This is the whole risk management process, right? This is the whole risk management process. And in complete risk management process, we have 3 documents: risk management plan, right? Risk register and risk report. The risk profile diagram that I showed you along with the data is a risk report only, right? Sometime you can club it with the project status report. Now, I have not shown you risk register as such. Now, I'll be showing you risk register after we have performed quantitative risk analysis, right? This is the part, right? I'll do. We are doing perform quantitative risk analysis, and I'll take you through the first technique for quantitative risk assessment, which is expected monetary value assessment, EMV, right? Now, some of you might feel that why do we require? Don't try to apply these techniques in your project, right? So what I'm saying is don't try to apply these quantitative risk assessment techniques in your project, right? These are meant for very, very big projects such as mergers, acquisition, right? Launching of a new product when you have multiple product options available, launching a huge new factory setup. So, these are meant for those catastrophic risks that requires a lot of huge investment, right? Where dollars of money is at stake, right? So don't use this technique. See, we'll go through multiple techniques, right? Don't use them for day-to-day regular projects, right? So generally for projects, you can use you can follow this path, right? Only for catastrophic risk, you follow quantitative risk assessment techniques, right? These are tedious methods, right? So I'm just starting with the first quantitative assessment method, which is called as expected monetary value analysis, right? Or decision tree. Can we start, guys?
Yes.
Now, this is a sample decision tree, right? Now, before we create this decision tree, I'll just take you through, the basic background. Suppose you are a manufacturer of a product, right? You are a manufacturer of a product, and product has a huge demand in the market. If the demand of the product is increasing day by day, right, tell me, will you expand? Will you expand the manufacturing, or will you increase the capacity or not? Because if you don't increase your capacity, your competitor may grab the market, right? If you're a manufacturer of a plant, guys, right, and if the demand is increasing, right, and if you don't expand your capacity, if you don't increase your capacity, you might not be able to cater the demand, and your competitor may grab the market, right? So you take a decision, right? So I have to expand. There are two ways I can expand, right? One way to expand is by building a new plant. This is a way to expand. If I build a new plant, will my capacity be more or not? Tell me, guys, can I expand by building a new plant?
Yes, Pankaj.
The other way to expand is upgrade the plant, right? Now, if I upgrade the plant, my capacity will not go that high, right? If I upgrade, my capacity may not go that high, but still, right, it will be increased. So in this, both of this decision may have opportunities and threats involved, right? Now, which decision should I take? Should I build the plant or should I upgrade the plant, right? Now, the expected monetary value analysis technique or decision tree will tell me this, right? Now, can I first analyze building a new plant? Now, tell me, guys, if I build the new plant, what is the investment involved? What is the investment involved in building a new plant? It is written here. Tell me.
1.2 million.
Yeah, 120 million, right? It's 120 million, right? When you invest in a new plant, it is 120 million, right? Now, if you build a new plant, the probability, right? The probability that demand will go high as per your expectation is 60%, right? And if the demand is high, you will earn 200 million. Now tell me, if you earn 200 million, what will be your profitability?
80 million.
80 million, right? 200 minus 120. Now, at the same time, there are 40% chances that demand will not go as per your imagination or your anticipation, right? It's 40% chances. And if the demand is weak, how much you are going to make? 90. Now, if you're going to make 90 million, will you face a loss of minus 30 million or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Now, some of you might ask me, from where did you get this data? 60%, right, are the chances of strong demand. 40% are the chances of weak demand. From where you will get this data? Right. From where the data comes from? See, this comes from a lot of research, right? There are predictive analysis technique, right? There are techniques for prediction, right? In machine learning, right? Machine learning is one of the branch of AI that deals with forecasting and prediction, like these, right? So based on historical data, right, and adjusting it to various parameters, we can build machine learning models, right? Like regression, right? Logistics, right? Random forest. There are multiple ways, right? And in fact, when you arrive at such predictions, you don't use one model, you use multiple models, then compare the result of multiple models and then come out with this, right? But as a project manager, you are not supposed to get into all of these things, right? You have to assume that, if you're managing the project, right? This data will be given to you. You should know how to calculate EM. Is that fine? Is that fine, guys? Now, tell me, if there is a strong demand, you will make 80 million. Look at this, 80 million. Now tell me, what is the guarantee of this, of getting this 80 million? 100% or 60%? What is the guarantee of getting 80 million? 100% or 60%?
60%.
60%, right? So because the guarantee is only 60%, we'll take expected monetary value, right, of this decision, right, as 0.6 into 80. We'll take the expected monetary value as 0.6 into 80. Now, similarly, if there's a weak demand, how much we are going to make? We are going to lose 30 million. But how likely, how much are the chances that we'll lose 30 million?
40%.
So can I say 0.4 into minus 30 is the expected value of this branch? So see, this is a threat, this is an opportunity. So again, the total expected monetary value is what? 0.6 into 80 and 0.4 into minus 30. So can I say 36 million is a total expected monetary value?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Can I say total expected monetary value of the decision, right? Building a new plant is 36 million US dollars, right? Similarly, can we calculate the expected monetary value of upgrade the plant? If I upgrade the plant, what is the investment? 50 million US dollars, right? If I invest this much, right, there are 60% chances that demand will be strong. And if the demand is strong, I'm going to make 120 million, right? If I'm making 120 million, tell me what is the profit? What is the profit if I'm making 120 million, guys?
70 million.
70 million, right? If 70 million is a profit, and is it 100% guaranteed or only 60% guaranteed?
60%.
60. So can I say that expected monetary value of this is 0.60 into 70? Right? Of this one. And there are 40% chances that the demand will be weak and you will make only 60 million. Now, since the investment is less here, even in the case of weak demand, you will make some profit of 10 million, right? Which is 40% guaranteed. So expected monetary value of this will be 0.4 into 10 million, right? 0.40 into 10 million. Now, total expected monetary value of this decision will be how much? 46. This will be 46, guys. 46 million or not?
Yes.
Now tell me, based on this data, should we upgrade or should we build? Should we upgrade or should we build, guys?
Upgrade.
Upgrade, right? We should upgrade.
Yes.
Now this whole technique is called as expected monetary value analysis, and the diagram that you have in front of you is called as decision tree. Now, can we practice some more questions on this, guys?
Pankaj, one small question. So how do we generally get this probability, exact probability of anything happening?
इसके लिए ना मशीन लर्निंग की बहुत सारी टेक्निक्स हैं, राइट?
Okay.
जैसे देखो क्या होता है कि मशीन लर्निंग में यही काम होता है प्रेडिक्शन का. तो बेस्ड ऑन देखो इसमें एक हिस्टोरिकल डेटा होता है, उसे बोलते हैं हम ट्रेनिंग डेटा, राइट? ट्रेनिंग डेटा और टेस्ट डेटा के रिजल्ट को हम मैच करते हैं. अब एक मॉडल बहुत बारी चलता नहीं है इसमें, right? Generally क्या होता है when we have to do
sorry to interrupt. So we need to take that different team help ना for to take this data.
नहीं देखो ये डेटा कोई और ही देगा आपको, इससे आपको कोई मतलब नहीं.
हाँ वही ना.
मैं विशाल पूछ रहा है तो मैं बता रहा हूँ कि मशीन लर्निंग में बहुत सारी टेक्निक्स हैं. देखो रिग्रेशन होता है, वो जब ग्राफ पहली बार प्लॉट करोगे तो आपको मालूम चलेगा किस तरह का डेटा है आपका. तो लीनियर रिग्रेशन होता है, उसमें भी यूनिवेरिएट, मल्टीवेरिएट, बाइवेरिएट एनालिसिस होता है, उसकी लॉजिस्टिक रिग्रेशन भी होता है, राइट? और उसके अलावा क्या, उसके बाद भी बहुत सारी टेक्निक्स हैं, जैसे डिसीजन ट्री है, रैंडम फॉरेस्ट है। तो जनरली क्या करते हैं हम, बहुत बारी मल्टीपल टेक्निक्स के आउटकम देखते हैं, राइट। उसके बाद एक कंफ्यूजन मैट्रिक्स बनाते हैं, उसको देख के फिर हम फाइन ट्यून करते हैं डेटा के रिजल्ट को अपना। ठीक है, बहुत बारी एक टेक्निक से भी हमें आंसर मिलता नहीं है। सो दिस इज डन बाय अ सेपरेट टीम। तो वही टीम बताएगी, देखो नॉट 60% इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट, ये भी वहीं से आया है 200 मिलियन, वही लोग बताएंगे, राइट, द पीपल हु डू प्रेडिक्टिव एनालिसिस। बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग ब्रांच है एआई की, जो मशीन लर्निंग वाली है, राइट। विदिन एआई यू हैव मल्टीपल थिंग, बट मशीन लर्निंग, see many of you who are interested in mathematics and statistics, right? You should try and learn that. बट कोई भी मशीन लर्निंग की क्लास करने से पहले स्टैटिस्टिक्स और प्रोबेबिलिटी वगैरह पढ़ के जाना। Now, can we practice some more questions on expect EMV?
Yes, Pankaj.
Right, let's practice some more questions. Now, can you try this question? Right now, this question is all about, देखो we have to increase the sales. Now, to increase the sales, we have three options, right? One is do nothing, don't do anything. Second is cut prices or give discounts, which will cost you 300,000 pounds. And the first option is launching loyalty cards, right? And the cost of this is 500,000, right? So to increase the sales, you can launch a loyalty card that will cost you 500,000. You can cut prices that will cost you 300,000, and this is the data, right? Now, based on this data, can you find out by calculating EMV, expected monetary value analysis, should we launch a loyalty card or should we cut prices? Can you find out this? Should we launch loyalty card or should we cut prices?
Because I'm not getting it exactly.
देखो, आपके पास आपको सेल्स बढ़ानी है अपनी, तो आपने लॉयल्टी कार्ड्स देखे हैं, कंपनीज के होते हैं।
रेट कार्ड डू यू मीन?
नहीं, लॉयल्टी कार्ड ये नहीं होते। लॉयल्टी कार्ड ये आप जब एयरलाइन वगैरह में ट्रेवल करते हो तो आपके पॉइंट सिस्टम होता है ना, रिवॉर्ड पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं आपको।
ओके,
right? For example, if you go to Big Bazaar and shop something, right? Or if you go to any Reliance Mall, they give you a card. Cards में आपके point accumulate होते हैं। Point accumulate के basis पे आपको discount मिलता है, right? So, a company wants to raise sales. उसको sales बढ़ानी है। तो अब क्या है कि वो क्या-क्या कर सकती है? वो launch loyalty card कर सकती है। अगर वो loyalty card launch करेगी, what is the cost? 500,000 pounds. या वो डिस्काउंट दे सकती है प्राइसेस में, उसकी कॉस्ट क्या है? 300,000। या वो कुछ मत करे, राइट? तो ये बताओ कि ये क्या वो करेगा कब? देखो, आप लॉन्च लॉयल्टी कार्ड की एक्सपेक्टेड मॉनेटरी वैल्यू निकालो, ईएमवी। आप कट प्राइस की ईएमवी निकालो। जिसकी भी ईएमवी ज्यादा होगी, एक्सपेक्टेड मॉनेटरी वैल्यू, वो ऑप्शन आप सेलेक्ट करोगे। तो आपको मुझे बताना है यहाँ पे, शुड बी लॉन्च लॉयल्टी कार्ड और शुड बी कट प्राइस?
Cut prices looks more beneficial.
ठीक है, तो एक काम करते हैं, हाँ लग रहा है मुझे भी, कैलकुलेट करके देखें सब साथ में। कैन वी कैलकुलेट इट टुगेदर? देखो, सबसे पहले इफ यू लॉन्च लॉयल्टी कार्ड तो 500,000 तो आपका एक्सपेंस है। 0.6 प्रोबेबिलिटी है दैट यू विल मेक हाउ मच? 1 million, and 0.4 is the probability that you will make 750K. Now tell me, if the sales is high, what is the profitability? क्या होगी यहाँ पे? 1 million you are making, is profitability 500,000 pounds or not? Tell me, is this the profitability?
Yeah, profitability would be like 0.6 into 1 million.
वो expected नहीं, हाँ, absolutely. The EMV, expected monetary value जब निकालेंगे तो हम, हाँ, yes. this is the profitability, but this profitability is only 60% guaranteed. So it will be, जब EMV निकालेंगे, when we calculate EMV, we'll take 0.6 into how much?
1 million.
No, 500,000 लेंगे ना. 1 million तो revenue है, but ये इतना खर्चा भी तो किया है 500.
बट वो तो ओवरऑल में से माइनस हो जाएगा ना फिर कॉस्ट पंकज.
कैसे?
प्रॉफिट माइनस कॉस्ट होगा ना.
नहीं, ये तो अलग. देखो, हमने हमारा एक चांस क्या है, ये हाई सेल्स होगी. हाई सेल्स होगी तो हम कितना कमाएंगे? 1 million. बट ये तो हमने कमाया है, बट प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी क्या है? 1 million minus 500,000. ये प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है 500,000. But this profitability, how much this is guaranteed? Only 0.6. So EMV क्या हो गया? 0.6 into 500. ये तो इसका हो गया. But पूरी EMV कैसे निकालेंगे हम? प्लस. अब एक चांस है कि सेल्स लो भी हो सकती है. If the sales is low, how much is the profitability? देखो 750 is the revenue. The profitability is how much? 250 is the profitability. 750 minus 500. But and how much it is guaranteed? 0.4. So 0.4 into 250.
पंकज जी आपके स्क्रीन पे कुछ मेन्यू जैसा दिख रहा है,
इसको डाल देते हैं. So is it okay?
अभी भी दिख रहा है.
अभी नहीं दिख रहा. अभी खाली एक मेन्यू ही दिख रहा है, कोई कैलकुलेशन वाली स्क्रीन नहीं.
नहीं, कैलकुलेशन मेरी दिख नहीं रही आपको क्या?
ना नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं.
नो पंकज.
अरे कैलकुलेशन कैसे नहीं दिख रही आपको? अब दिख रही है?
नहीं,
I
अभी
think
आपकी
the
देखो
screen is
No.
frozen.
freeze हो गई है.
अच्छा, स्क्रीन इज फ्रोजन एक्चुअली. वो है, मैं
हाँ.
रिज्यूम पता नहीं वो कैसे कर दिया. ओहो, पहले दिख रही थी आपको? नहीं दिख रही थी जब मैं डिसीजन ट्री दिखा रहा था आपको?
पहले दिख रही थी.
अच्छा, अब दिख रही है?
Yes.
Yes.
तो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि देखो, सी व्हाट इज द प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी हियर? 500,000, right? Now what is the profitability in the second case? 250,000.
But I have a doubt. I mean, why we are saying that profitability is 5,000? Because as per my understanding from the previous example that you showed, right? The high sales profit would be 0.6 into like whatever number is given, 1,000, like 1 million, right?
देखो, ये हमारा revenue है total. If the sales are high, this is the revenue.
हाँ, but probability of this is like 0.6.
हाँ, 0.6, right?
है ना?
तो हाँ, बिल्कुल. तो expected monetary value of probability will be 0.6. So EMV, when we'll calculate EMV, right? When we calculate total EMV, expected monetary value, right? What we'll do? We'll do 0.6 into
1 million.
पर देखो प्रॉफिट से करेंगे ना, उससे मल्टीप्लाई. प्रॉफिट तो हमें खाली कितना हुआ? 500,000 हुआ. ये तो कॉस्ट है. उस पिछले में भी हमने ऐसे लिया था. In the previous one also we took profitability.
Can we go back to that previous one once it is?
ठीक है, देखो उसमें भी प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी लिया. देखो ये सी, उसमें क्या लिया हमने? If there is a strong demand, we'll earn this 200 million as a revenue. तो 200 million revenue है और 120 cost है, तो 80 profit लिया है हमने.
Okay.
Right? 200 minus 120. And the same thing we are applying here. Right?
Okay. Makes sense.
Right? And similarly, this one. So the EMV will be what? Plus 0.4 into 250. Okay. Which is equal to how much? Is it 400K? In terms of pounds?
Yes.
Right? So EMV for this decision is how much? 400,000, right? Now, can you calculate EMV for cut prices? Can somebody perform this calculation for cut prices?
44.
So 440K, right? EMV
Yes.
for the second decision will be 440,000, right?
Yeah.
So tell me which decision is better? Where you are going to get more money? When you
40. Yeah.
right? When you give upfront discount. If you reduce, right? If you give upfront discount, you will get better, right? Value. Is that okay? Is that fine?
Yes, yes, Pankaj.
Yes.
So now, can we do one more question on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, after doing this, I'll take some questions from the clone questions, right, which PMI has given on decision tree. Now, see, all the solution is there, right? You have to just analyze and look at it, right? Just see how it has been done, right? See, this is a decision tree about launch of a product, right? Company is deliberating that whether they should launch product X or product Y, right? This is the whole MVP, EMV analysis, right? There may be a strong demand, there may be a moderate or a weak demand. Percentages are given to you, right? And then finally, EMV is calculated. Look at the whole data and tell me which product should be launched, X or Y.
Value wise, if you go, that's I think it's Y.
Right? So if we go by EMV, expected monetary value, you should be going with Y, right? Now tell me, if somebody will prefer X, on what basis X? Obviously, if directly go by EMV, you are right, Ritesh. It should be Y. But Ritesh, tell me, if you have to think about X, on what basis X? Now
Less
tell me,
cost.
see, yes. Profitability wise, if you only go with profitability, right, then Y definitely, as Ritesh suggested, is a better choice with high EMV, right? Now, Ritesh, but if I see return on investment, now return on investment is profitability divided by cost into 100.
Right. So I think X product is more profitable.
Right. Right. So, please look at the question. See, because again, this is a general scenario, but in exam, if they have said, based on ROI, would you go with product X or product Y? Then should be X.
Right.
But if it is based on profitability, right, then it is Y. Is that
But
okay?
when we perform
EMV is same, na? 60.
देखो EMV इसमें 22 है, 22 है, and the EMV in the next one is 24. So ideally, based on EMV, we should go with Y. Right? But if somebody says ROI, देखो ROI कैसे निकालते हैं? हम देखेंगे we have a separate session on ROI. What is ROI of X? 22 by 80 into X into 100. What is ROI?
What is this ROI?
Return on investment. देखो 80 लगाया आपने, 22 मिला है आपको. So the profitability, expected profitability divided by cost into 100 is a ROI. Right? Is that okay? Because 22 million you will receive and 80 is the investment made. And what is the ROI of Y? 24%, right? 24 by 100 into 100. Right? And how much is this coming, Ritesh? I think it should be about 30, right?
27.5.
27.5. So on the basis of ROI, X is better. And you can visualize also. See, you are putting 20 million extra, and the profit is only 2 million extra, right? So, anyways, you have to analyze question completely. Now, can we do some questions from cloned questions given by PMI? Right? Can we do some? See, again, they are pretty easy and almost of the similar format. So I'm just opening some questions from the cloned questions given by PMI. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
PMI questions are slightly easier actually on risk. Now, can you try this question? A project sponsor is a risk averse, right? And is therefore concerned about negative impact on the project. To help with this concern, the project team identifies 4 project risks and then evaluate both the probability of occurrence and the impact of the risk if it occurs. The team uses 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Based on the table, in what order should the project manager rank this risk for management purpose? Now tell me which is the, this is a very simple table. So which is the highest priority risk here?
B.
B, so 16, right?
Yeah.
B 16, right? Second highest?
C.
Absolutely C. B, C. So I think the answer is option also is B, right? Bravo. And third is A,
Yes.
right? So the option is BCAD, right? Now, prior to preparing a monthly project status report, project manager identifies 3 new risks. All of these risks could impact critical milestones. The project manager wants to reference additional information before presenting this new risk information. To which sources should the project manager refer?
Is it Bravo?
A.
A.
So the A is correct, and this is a rational also. The project manager must check the risk register and the risk report to see if this is indeed a new risk and to see if there was already an action planned for it, right? So A alpha is the correct answer for this, right? '72. Although the sponsor and the project team say that the new project has an adequate budget and realistic schedule, the project manager worries that unplanned event could threaten the project's success. What should the project manager do first? What should be the answer of 72? This should be simple for you.
A is more appropriate, I guess. Simple.
Do you all agree with this? Right? Do you all agree with this?
Yes, yes, Pankaj.
Right? It's a answer, and let's see the explanation also. The project manager needs to be proactive and to familiarize him with the identified risk and their mitigation strategies, right? A company wants to reduce cost by installing solar panel. The local government provides subsidies for specific energy efficient projects, right? After project start, the program manager learns that solar panel may not qualify for the energy efficiency subsidy, right? How should the program manager address this issue?
So there is a risk involved related to cost now.
Yes.
I think we can increase the risk level for the project.
Yes.
Are you sure, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. The risk level of this issue must be raised as an expected monetary result might not be achieved, right? Now, I'm going back to the PPT. See, we are starting with another technique to quantitatively assess risk, which is called as sensitivity analysis, and this is done using a tornado diagram. Now, guys, can you see the picture of sensitivity analysis and the tornado diagram in front of you? Can you see tornado diagram, guys?
Yes.
Now, see this tech. Now, what is sensitivity analysis? Right? Now, see, first of all, in sensitivity analysis, we see how sensitive a project is to a particular risk. Right? Now, can you see the central line? This is the project objective. Right? Now, these numbers are project profit, expected profitability. This is profitability of the project, right? In $1 billion. So if I talk about, if I say this is the objective of the project, right? Now, what is the profitability expected in terms of objective? Can you tell me the number? This is the project objective, guys. So how much how much profitability is being expected from the project? Is it 7 billion or not?
Yes.
Right, 7 billion US dollars is the profitability target of the project. Now this 7, we have to see how this 7 billion US dollars profitability is sensitive to these risks: conversion, price, inflation, foreign exchange ratio, right? Now in sensitivity analysis, we see the impact of a particular risk, right, on the project objective in isolation. We will see, suppose conversion is a risk, right? How, when I'm going to see the impact of conversion on project objectives, I'll not be thinking about other variables such as price or inflation or foreign exchange rate, right? I'll be only thinking about conversion as a risk. When I'll think about price as a risk, I'll not think about other ones. So in sensitivity analysis, you check how sensitive the project objectives are to a particular risk, right? Or you assess the impact of a particular risk on project objectives in isolation, right? First, let's go through conversion as a risk. Now, what is conversion, guys? Can you guess what is conversion risk here? What is conversion here? No, what is the
25 to 45.
what is the meaning of this conversion?
That currency conversion.
No.
Sales conversion to
This is sales
generate gain.
conversion. This is sales conversion. See, conversion means, conversion is basically assessing the performance of your marketing team or a sales team. How many leads get converted into the actual business, or how many potential opportunities get converted into real business. So see, suppose 35% of the 35% of the opportunities get converted into real business, right? If conversion rate is 35%, if marketing team is or sales team is performing at this rate, right? At this rate, they're converting. If this rate they're able to convert a prospect, right, into a real business or an opportunity into a real business, then we can make, right, a profit of $7 billion, which is my target. But see, the marketing team can perform better than this or can underperform. If suppose marketing team performs better than this, right? Better than this means, if they are able to convert more than 45% of the leads into real business or, opportunities into real business, how much is the profitability then? In billion US dollars, how much is the profitability if marketing perform, if the sales team performs better than we expect from them? Tell me, what is the profitability at this point?
12 billion.
12 billion, right? Right, 12 billion. But there are chances that they may underperform. They perform worse than the 35%. If they only perform, if they're only able to convert 25% of the lead into account, then how much we are going to make? If they're only able to convert 25%, how much they're going to make?
4 billion.
4 billion. So can we say, the profitability objective is highly sensitive to conversion? Based on the performance of the marketing sales team, the profitability can vary from 4 billion to 12 billion. Yes or no? Is it a major risk or not? Is it a critical risk or not? Because of the performance of the marketing team or the sales team, the profitability can vary very high, right? From 4 billion to 12 billion, right? See, based on the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, you can see the risk, right? This is the best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario. Now, similar to the way we have done for conversion, we'll do for pricing also. Now, if we keep price per unit as 25.5, we can hit the target. Right? If price is kept 25.5, we can hit the target, which is 7 billion. But what should be the price per unit? It depends on demand and supply. Right? If the demand is very high, right, we can keep higher price also. For example, if the price is 25.5 billion, you can hit the target of 7 billion. But if the demand is high, we can increase the price further to $29.5. If we increase the price to $29.5, how much I'm going to make? Is it 11 billion or not?
Yes.
Right. Similarly, if in market the demand is not so great and supply is more, we have to reduce the price. If we have to reduce the price per unit to 20.5 million, then we'll make around 5 million. So can I say my profitability can vary from 5 million to 11 million, right? Based on this risk pricing, right? So this range 20.5 to 29.5 dollars, right? $1 billion, right? This impact, it tells you how sensitive, right? Your profitability goal is to this risk pricing, right? Similarly, inflation. If there is an inflation, the cost of raw material will go up, right? Now, while keeping the target profitability as 7 billion, we have assumed inflation of 5.5%. But the actual inflation can be more or less, right? On the positive side, if actual inflation is less, let's say 2.5%, we can earn $8 billion US. But if it is high, we can only earn 4 billion. So my profitability can vary from 4 billion to 8 billion because of inflation as a risk, right? The last is foreign exchange rate. If my currency conversion rate is 3.45, I can hit the target. Now here we have assumed that we are an importer, right? If you are importer, then if the currency conversion decreases, you will earn more, 8 billion. If it increases to 4.30, you will earn less, which is 6 billion, right? So my profitability can vary from 6 billion to 8 billion depending on the conversion rate. Is that okay? So this is in brief about sensitivity analysis. And since this diagram is more like a tornado, right? It is called as tornado diagram. Now, a tornado diagram or sensitivity analysis tells us how sensitive, right? How sensitive we are to a particular risk, right? Or project goals are to a particular risk. So in this sensitivity analysis, we'll see the impact of a particular risk on project objective in isolation. Is that okay? Are you okay with sensitivity analysis?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now, the third quantitative assessment technique is Monte Carlo, which you have already done.
Pankaj, I could not understand exactly this.
देखो, एक रिस्क कितना आपको डैमेज कर सकता है वो इससे पता चल रहा है। अगर आपकी सेल्स टीम अच्छा परफॉर्म करती है या खराब परफॉर्म करती है, वो कन्वर्जन रिस्क से मालूम चल रहा है। और उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या है, आपकी प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कितनी हो सकती है, 4 बिलियन to 12 बिलियन। आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट और नॉट?
यस।
तो सेंसिटिविटी एनालिसिस से मालूम चलता है कि प्रोजेक्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव में किसी पर्टिकुलर रिस्क से क्या इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, द बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो, द वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो।
So Pankaj, is it also like one of the deciding factor whenever we do the quantitative analysis in complex projects to whether to go ahead or change the something strategy on?
See, sensitivity analysis ये ना एक्चुअली बहुत जगह यूज होता है, मतलब ये इट इज यूज्ड इन कैपिटल बजटिंग आल्सो। इससे पूरा रिस्क
that varies on the nature of the project also, I think. If you,
देखो, आप अपने प्रोजेक्ट में मत लगा देना इस किसी टेक्निक को भी,
राइट?
देखो, ये कोई भी टेक्निक आपके लिए मतलब की नहीं है डिलीवरी प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए। देखो, ये प्रोजेक्ट्स ये किस प्रोजेक्ट्स में काम आएंगी, शुड वी एक्वायर अ कंपनी और नॉट, शुड वी डू अ मर्जर और नॉट, should we build a new office in new location or not, right? Should I can choose between multiple projects, multiple products. So should I launch, for example, if Maruti is deciding, should they launch SUV or sedan or a hatchback? So for such projects, these techniques are meant.
Right, because I'm more curious because I'm into products, so I was more into sensitive analysis because it is more relevant to the current.
देखो, इससे क्या क्या मिल रहा है, इससे ये मिल रहा है, देखो, इट्स अ वेरी गुड इंफॉर्मेशन रेडिएटर। एक तो इससे विजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिल रही है। कन्वेंशन ये होती है, देखो, कन्वेंशन ये होती है कि बिगेस्ट बार, द वाइडेस्ट बार शुड बी एट द टॉप, रितेश,
राइट,
देन इन डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर। इंटरनेट में कुछ आपको उल्टे भी मिलेंगे, वो गलत है.
Okay.
Because to make it more intuitive, the practice to be followed is the topmost risk should be this biggest bar. अब इसको देखो, इस now tell me, looking at this diagram, can I say I am most sensitive, my profitability objective is most sensitive to conversion,
Yes.
followed by conversion pricing, then inflation and foreign exchange rate?
Right.
Yes or no?
Of course.
ये मालूम चल रहा है.
Okay. Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now we are left with one. देखो PERT हमने कर लिया था. We are left with one quantitative assessment tool which is called as Monte Carlo. Right? Is that okay? Monte Carlo. Now देखो, अब PMI के हिसाब से अगर आपको चलना है Monte Carlo के लिए, PMI के हिसाब से इतना कहना बहुत है आज अभी के फॉर्मेट में कि Monte Carlo is a simulation technique. Monte Carlo is a simulation technique that is sufficient for PMP exam. बट मेरे हिसाब से आपको सीखना चाहिए कि Monte Carlo करते कैसे, क्या होता है Monte Carlo. Now, अब ये बताओ, अगर आपको एग्जाम के लिए खाली करना है तो याद कर लो Monte Carlo is a quantitative risk assessment technique which is simulation. बट आपको अगर सीखना है तो मैं एक डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन करके दिखा देता हूँ कि Monte Carlo करते कैसे. So what do you want to do? Tell me. आपको Monte Carlo सीखना है या नहीं सीखना है?
सर देख लेंगे, बेटर रहेगा.
देख ले. ठीक है. तो पहले मैं एक सैंपल एग्जांपल लूंगा, फिर एक्सेल में करेंगे. इट विल नॉट टेक मोर देन 10-15 मिनट्स. Now, can you see this data again? You know, I am repeating this data you might have seen in PERT also, right? Can you see this data?
Not yet, Pankaj.
No, not yet. Okay, I'm just opening it. Can you see this data now?
Yeah,
right?
now is
Now I've taken a very simple project with 3 activities: activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, and minimum, most likely, and maximum is given corresponding to every activity. Now, Monte Carlo, right, and PERT, right? Through both of them, you can estimate the duration, you can estimate the cost, and you can, relate it to the risk associated with the project, right? Now, tell me, I discussed when I was talking about PERT. In the PERT, how did we arrive at the best case scenario, right? The worst case scenario and the most likely scenario for a project. How did we arrive there?
Minimum plus 4 into most.
No, वो तो था, पर वो डेटा कहाँ से आया था प्रोजेक्ट का? हिस्टोरिकल डेटा बोला था मैंने. I said from the historical data, can I come out with the best case scenario, most likely scenario, and the worst case scenario? We took an example also, right? Yes or no? Are you following me or not? See, I told you that we can take a historical data of the project, right? This is what we discussed in PERT, right? Suppose we have a Suppose we have a project, right? Suppose this is the data. This is P1, right? This is P2. This is P3. This is P4. Suppose this historical data is given. This is duration or cost in duration in month. Suppose this historical data is there, right? Tell me, in this case, what is the minimum or the best case scenario? What is the minimum you take from this historical data? Tell me which is the best case scenario in this data.
What is this P1, P2?
Projects से हैं पूरे यार, historical data बोल रहा हूँ मैं.
Okay.
तो इसमें best case
P1, 5 months. Yeah.
5 months. Is the
Best.
What is the most likely?
7 months.
7 months, right? And the worst case?
13.
13, right? So this is what we did in PERT. This is what we did in PERT, right? 3-point estimation. Now tell me, how would you get at a project level? How would you get the data if there is no historical data available? अगर आपके पास historical data available नहीं है, तो क्या करोगे आप? What can you do if the historical data is not available to you? What can be done if historical data is not available? Can you generate something similar using simulation? देखो अब क्या करूं? Now let's focus on Monte Carlo. What do we do in Monte Carlo? Suppose a project consists of activities 1, 2, 3, right? And it's a new kind of a project. The market environment is highly uncertain, right? Now, how can you arrive you at an activity level? Can you arrive? See, if the project is highly uncertain, right? Activities are highly uncertain. You have to estimate the project. Now, tell me, at a project level, can you come out with minimum, most likely, and maximum at an activity level? So, these are different activities: activity 1, activity 2, activity 3. Now, when you come out with these values 4, 5, and 7, right? Come out with these values through the participation of expert teams and good collaboration, right? So the subject matter experts, the team collaborates and they put the best case scenario, worst case scenario at an activity level, right? Now, then the total of the best case scenario is how much? 11 months. Most likely is 14 months, right? And the worst case scenario is 19 months. Now, what do you conclude from this data? What did you conclude from this data, guys? Guys, what did you conclude from this data? Now, tell me, what is the best possible scenario in which the project can be completed?
11 months.
most likely 14 months, and the worst case 19 months. Right? But tell me, when you are discussing about estimates, is it sufficient? Is this information sufficient to manage a project? Now, how does Monte Carlo work? First of all, you can get this data through subject matter expert. I am assuming you don't have any historical data available. No historical data. It's a highly uncertain environment. So Monte Carlo uses a simulation technique. Now, how does a simulation work? Has anyone seen how simulation works? Because simulation, I'll show you, I'll show you how it is done manually, right? Then I will talk about how computer does it. Now, let's say there are 3 boxes. Guys, can I show you? Can you see 3 boxes?
Yeah.
Right? Now,
Yes, sir.
first box is job 1. The second box is job 2. And the third box is job 3. Sorry, yeah, job 3. Right? Now, in these 3 boxes, there are 3 chits, suppose. Suppose there are 3 chits, right? In each box, there is 3 chits. Now, one representing, right, the maximum, another the most likely, another the minimum, right? This box also has 3 chits. Right? Now, if I see, we are around 10 people here. If I ask you to pick one from this box, one chit from this box, right? Right? Without looking into this, randomly pick one from the box. Now, Vishal, suppose I ask you to pick one chit from the box. You can pick any one of these, minimum or most likely or maximum. Yes or no?
Yes, correct.
Right? So suppose Vishal came and Vishal picked, right? Vishal, for job 1, Vishal picked, this is Vishal, right? And Vishal is picking the data like this. Vishal, for job 1, Vishal picked, let's say, minimum. For job 2, Vishal, this is Vishal picked from job 1. For job 2, Vishal picked the worst case scenario 6. And for job 3, Vikas again picked the worst case scenario 19. Without looking into it, it's a random pick, right? It's a random pick. Right? Now, after that, let's say Divya came in, right? Divya picked her, her values for job 1, job 2, and job 3, right? And again, randomly. Divya might pick, right? Let's say these values 6, then 6. Sorry, Divya picked for second, 6. For first, she picked 5 because there is no 6 there. 5. 6. And then again 6, right? And I'm changing, I think, are you getting what is happening here? So, as each of one comes, will you pick different numbers or not? And some might pick same numbers also, randomly. Are you trying to understand what I'm saying? Job 1, job 2, job 3 के कोई भी कॉम्बिनेशन हो सकते हैं. एक बार ऐसा हो सकता है कि job 1 मिनिमम में हो, job 2 मोस्ट लाइकली में हो, job 3 मैक्सिमम में हो. दूसरी बार क्या हो सकता है कि जॉब सबने जॉब 1 मोस्ट लाइकली में हो, जॉब 2 मोस्ट लाइकली में हो, जॉब 3 मोस्ट लाइकली में हो। ये सारे पिक हो सकते हैं अगर हम इंडिविजुअली ऐसे पिक करेंगे तो। यस और नो?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now see, we are only 10, but you know, if computer picks all the combinations, suppose we run 500 such simulation on computer. If we run 500 or 1000 or more simulation on computer, we are going to get data like this. We'll get this kind of a data. Let's say we run 500 simulation. We get this kind of a data. Now, how many times did we, you know, based on the data, suppose, you know, 12 months, the total time will be 12 months. The total time was 12 months within for one case only. And it was less than 13 months for 31 times in such selections. It was less than 14 for 171. It was less than 15 months for 394. It was less than 16 months for 482. 17 months for 499. 18 months for 500. So what do we conclude from this? We will calculate the percentage of total, right? Now, if only one time out of 500 it was less than 12 months, that means to complete the project in less than 12 months, the probability is only 0. Now, it was 31 times less than 13 months out of 500. That means probability of completing the project in less than 31 months is 6%. Right? It was 171 times when 171 times out of 500 simulation, the project duration was less than 14 months. Now 14 171 divided by 500 is 34%. So can we say, you know, it is around 34% probability that project can be done in less than 14 days? Right? Similarly, how many times did we get project less than how many times out of 500 we get a data less than 15 months? 394 times. Probability is 79%, right? Similarly, for 16 months, 482 by 500, 96%. For 17 months, 499 by 500, 100%, right? 100%. Now, tell me, if we have this data, and I ask you one thing, I say, you know, I want a project to be around 79, you know, I want estimate of the project to be around 79% guaranteed. Tell me what should be the duration? What is the target that you can give me? If I ask you a question that I want the project estimate to be 79%, to be at 79% probability or confidence level or 79% guarantee, what is the estimate? What estimate you can commit comfortably based on this?
15 months.
15 months, right? Now, second guy said, you know, you should add some buffer. I want 100% confidence level. If the other guy says, you know, I need some confidence level, right? I need 100% confidence level. Add some buffer. So how much buffer you will add? 2 months.
Yes.
Right? Or on the safer side, you will add 3 months, right? Right? Are you getting my point? Now see, this is the result you get out of Monte Carlo. Now you can interpret everything using this result, or you can create a graph like this. You can create a graph like this. Now, can you see the graph? Now, this graph can be read. This the y-axis is the duration, right? And the x-axis is the probability. Now, based on this graph, can you tell me what should be the estimate if your confidence level is 100%? Can you see 17 here?
Yes.
70, right? This, you can see this bar 70 corresponding to 100%. Now, what should be your estimate for a confidence level of around 80%? This is the probability of 80%.
More than 15 weeks.
Right? I think, no. Yeah, slightly more than 15 weeks, right? Because 15 days is a probability less than 80%. So this is what you do using Monte Carlo. Now I'll quickly show you the same thing in Excel format. Can you see 3 activities on the Excel sheet? Activity 1, activity 2, activity 3. With optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic times. Can you see this?
Yes.
Now, instead of doing 500 rounds, because we are doing Monte Carlo manually, suppose we did 6 rounds. Right? In round 1, simulation, activity 1 selected was most likely, activity 2 was pessimistic, activity 3 was optimistic, right? And the total time is 22. Round 2.
Pankaj, is this some software simulation or people like a team of people decide this?
अरे सॉफ्टवेयर से हो जाएगा आराम से, सॉफ्टवेयर जल्दी
हो जाएगा ना? Okay.
उसमें खाली आपको एक्टिविटीज के ये टाइप पर देखो, ये टाइम, ये चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये डेटा आपको खुद ही फीड करना पड़ेगा,
राइट?
अगर ये डेटा बिल्कुल गलत हो गया तो सारा मोंटे कार्लो सिमुलेशन खराब हो जाएगा,
राइट?
सो बी केयरफुल, अकेले मत करो, कोलैबोरेशन में करो, टेक इनपुट्स फ्रॉम सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्ट, राइट? नाउ देखो, राउंड 1 किया, राउंड 2 किया, राउंड 3 किया, राइट? सब रैंडमली किया। राउंड 4 में आपको ये डेटा मिला। कैन यू सी टोटल वैल्यूज इन डिफरेंट राउंड्स? अब आप मिनिमम राउंड से शुरू करते हो। प्रोजेक्ट ड्यूरेशन कैन बी लेस देन 22, लेस देन 23, लेस देन 24 और लेस देन 25 बेस्ड ऑन दिस डेटा। आप मिनिमम से मैक्सिमम में चलोगे, राइट? इस जो 6 राउंड है उसमें मिनिमम ड्यूरेशन क्या है? 22, right? Then 23, 24, put them in ascending order. Now tell me, what is the probability that project can be done in less than 22 days? कितनी बार आ रहा है project 22 days के अंदर? Less than equal to 22 days. How many out of 6 rounds, in how many rounds the project duration is less than 22? Round 1 में project duration क्या है?
3 times.
22. Round 2 में क्या है? Round 3 में क्या है?
22 again.
So can I say 3 times? Total number of rounds क्या है? 6 है. So 3 by 6. Can I say the probability that project will be done in less than 22 days is 50%?
Yes, Pankaj.
Now let's talk about the next level. Less than 23. How many times the project is completing in less than 23 days? Deliberately, I have kept this wrong. ये गलत लिखा हुआ है.
Less than 23 it is 3 times only, na? 22, I mean less than 23 or equal to it is 1.
देखो ये मैंने गलत लिखा है जान के. अब बताओ कि how many times project is getting completed out in round 6 rounds? Out of these 6 rounds, in how many rounds project? 4. Should it be 4 or not?
But less than equal to, if less than this 3, if less than equal to, of course 4.
Less than equal to 23 is right, because I have to include previous results also. See, when I say less than 23, I have to include less than 22 also plus 23, right? Is that okay? Now less than 24 is 5, right? And less than 25 is how much? 6. Right?
Cool.
So based on this, I get different probability. See, for 4, see, if I say less than 23, it is 4 times. That means 4 out of 6, 66% probability. Right? If I say less than 24, how much is this? 5/6, 83% probability, and less than 25 is 100%, right? Again, in actual Monte Carlo, we'll not do only round 6. We'll go to round 1,000 or so, or at least more than 500 rounds, right? So that we get all the possible combinations. So, so if I say, give me estimates that have at least 80% confidence level, what estimate will you commit? You see, based on this table, if I say I need estimates which are at least 80% guaranteed, what should you commit?
24 weeks.
Right? 24 days?
Right.
Yes.
Right? Now, if I say I need 100%,
25 days.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you. These questions were coming earlier in PMP exam, right? If I recall, see, in 2019, right, a question like this will come in the exam. Now, their question was like this, but they have stopped giving it now. They will say, a project manager, right, Vishal, right, a project manager, Vishal, estimated the project, right, as 23 months, right? I'm taking days to months, 23 months, right? But the sponsor expects at least, 80%, or sometimes they'll say the sponsor expects 100% confidence level. Vishal shared his estimates. Vishal's estimates for 23 days, but the project man, but the sponsor expected 100% confidence level, right? Below is the data from the Monte Carlo simulation. They will show a table. Then they will ask you how much buffer should Vishal add to his estimate so that he has 100%. His estimates are 100% guaranteed. So how much buffer should Vishal add? See, I am again repeating the question. Vishal estimated the project. Vishal was a project manager, right, in a project. He estimated his project to be 23 days, right? Now, second statement would be the sponsor expected a confidence level of 100%, right? And then they will say, below is the data from Monte Carlo simulation. Based on the data, suppose this is the data from Monte Carlo simulation. Based on this data, right, how much buffer should Vishal add to his estimate so that he can meet the expectations of the sponsor? 2, right?
Yeah, 2 days.
Such questions used to come, right? See, in 2019 later part, right, November, December, I have seen such questions in the exam, but with the new pattern, they have stopped doing it, going into depth of Monte Carlo. But this Monte Carlo is so simple, right? Is it simple or not?
Yeah, it is simple, Pankaj, but one thing that I'm observing is it is contradicting the 3 points estimate technique that we have used.
Contradict नहीं कर रहा. देखो 3 point में एक limitation था. देखो पहला limitation क्या होता है 3 point का कि we assume that it's a symmetrical, but ठीक है उससे उतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता. देखो 3 point में जब हमने PERT किया था तो हम assume करते हैं mean, median, mode तीनों बराबर होंगे, right? That is the assumption, right? Plus, how would you do 3 point if there is no historical data? देखो 3 point में हमारे पास बहुत सारा historical data है, उससे हमने project level पे worst case निकाल लिया, best case निकाल लिया, most likely निकाल लिया. यहाँ पे ये simulation करके हमने खुद historical data generate किया है.
So basically, I mean, यहाँ पे भी हम जो error, I mean, expert guessing technique use कर रहे हैं, right, to find out the.
देखो subject matter expert का role यहाँ तक है खाली, right?
Correct.
अब उसके बाद ये सब तो सिमुलेशन से आ रहा है, कंप्यूटर रैंडमली पिक कर रहा है. देखो ये अगर आप हर लैंग्वेज में एक फंक्शन होता है. आप एक काम करो, आप जाना पाइथन में भी एक रैंडम
करेक्ट, आई नो, राइट,
हाँ ना, उसमें ये 3 वैल्यू डाल दो और
माय
4 पैरामीटर्स होते हैं उसमें, 4 पैरामीटर्स होते हैं उसमें, दूसरा एक कॉमा डाल के कितने बारी आपको सिमुलेट करना है वो डाल दो, तो ये सारी वैल्यूज आपको मिलेंगी बार बार.
करेक्ट. No, my original question is that even if I took this, data that we have gathered, right, from experts, right? So, iske basis pe I can find out what is the best case scenario for us, what is the most likely scenario, and what is the worst case, right?
देखो, अभी मैं 2-3 दिन पहले सीमेंस एनर्जी के लिए क्लास ले रहा था, तो उसने भी वहां पे भी एक बंदे ने यही क्वेश्चन पूछा मुझसे. देखो, experts has given me this data, 3 values.
Right.
Now, as per this, देखो, the best case scenario is how much? 10, 19. Is it the best case scenario? The most likely scenario is 12, 22, right? And the worst case scenario is 25, right? This is what I have gotten through this. तो मुझे देखो, मेरा मानना ये है कि when you are exploring something, right? This is less information as compared to this. This information is better than this information. Simply talking about the best case scenario. And we are talking about 3 activities only. In the real-time project, there will be at least 100 activities. So for 100 activities, the experts will tell you this. OMP, right? And this will be a guesswork work plus intuition plus experts input. And again, you have to understand one thing. You are using Monte Carlo in situations which are uncertain, where the risk is very high. If the scope is clearly defined, will you ever use Monte Carlo or PERT? If the scope of the project is clearly stated, will you use Monte Carlo? Not at all. You will use bottom up. Right?
तो Monte Carlo से एक चीज जो मुझे समझ में आ रही है पंकज is कि I mean if you go to previous example also जो उसमें था Excel जो आप sheet present कर रहे थे, right? तो उसके हिसाब से we can only achieve 100% when we are considering the worst case scenario basically.
देखो आप वही होगा ना, ultimately 100% तो worst case पे ही आएगा. आप देखो कैसे भी simulate करके देख लो इसे.
But ठीक है, but जो मोस्ट लाइकली सिनेरियो जनरली जो हम कंसीडर करते हैं उस पे द प्रोबेबिलिटी इज वेरी लेस, व्हिच मींस दैट इज एक्चुअली नॉट द मोस्ट लाइकली सिनेरियो. और ये उसमें लिखा भी हुआ था जो डॉक्यूमेंट आप शेयर कर रहे थे.
बिल्कुल.
इट वाज मेंशन्ड ओवर देयर कि जो मोस्ट लाइकली सिनेरियो जिसको हम आइडियल मान के चल रहे हैं, द प्रोबेबिलिटी अकॉर्डिंग टू मोंटे कार्लो इज ओनली 30 और 35%.
हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक है, देखा भी आपने इसमें डेटा में. हाँ ठीक है.
So should we ideally go for 3-point estimation or we should just avoid that?
नहीं देखो, ऐसा है कि मेरे हिसाब से my suggestion would be Monte Carlo is relatively better. But कई बार देखो जो मैंने कंपेयर करके देखे रिजल्ट, देखो कंपेयर करके देखें, अगर आप इसमें वेरिएंस निकालोगे और एक्सपेक्टेड मॉनेटरी वैल्यू इसमें ई और सिग्मा दोनों निकालने पड़ेंगे ना आपको उसका रिजल्ट लेने के लिए भी. फिर E+2 सिग्मा पूरा रेंज बनाना पड़ेगा, राइट? तो इतना फर्क आता नहीं है. कुछ डेटा अगर थोड़ा सा ज्यादा वियर्ड नहीं है तो लगभग प्रोबेबिलिटीज ऐसी आएंगी उसमें भी. आप इसको करके देखना. कैलकुलेट द एक्सपेक्टेड वैल्यू यूजिंग O+4 PM plus 6 by O plus 4M plus P by 6, right? And then calculate sigma and then calculate percentages of various sigma range. बहुत फर्क नहीं आता है डेटा में. बट स्टिल ये देखो ये वाला मैथ, ये जो मॉन्टे कार्लो है ना, ये कोई आपको इट इज नॉट कंस्ट्रेनिंग यू. देखो वहां पे आप फिट कर रहे हो बेल कर्व में अपने कर्व को. आपका कर्व बेल कर्व नहीं है मोस्ट लाइकली वाला उस तरह का, लेकिन आप फिट कर रहे हो वहां पे. अज्यूमिंग दैट अगर थोड़ा सा स्क्यू भी हो जाता है लेफ्ट और राइट में तो उससे उतना फर्क नहीं आएगा. लेकिन बहुत ज्यादा स्क्यू हो गया तो फर्क आएगा, राइट? यहाँ पे आपको तो इसलिए मेरे हिसाब से मॉन्टे कार्लो इज बेटर. जहां पे आपको बिल्कुल गारंटीड है यार कि बिल्कुल अगर आपका कर्व बिल्कुल बेल कर्व है, थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर हो रहा है तो वो भी चल जाएगा. बट मॉन्टे कार्लो इज बेटर आई थिंक. देखो टूल से बहुत जल्दी कर देगा यार. टूल क्या, आप एक रैंडम फंक्शन लिख दो, 3 वेरिएबल डालो, लास्ट 4th पैरामीटर सिमुलेशन नंबर ऑफ सिमुलेशन डाल दो, तो उससे भी वैल्यूज मिल जाएंगी सारी आपको. ये डेटा मिल जाएगा सारा, राइट? is Monte Carlo okay?
Yeah.
Right. So I think, can we wind up the session here for today?
Sure.
Can we wind up here?
Yeah.
Right. Now, देखो कल थोड़ा सा मेरे पास constraint है. Right. I have a very important assignment from 9 to 11:30. Right. Or 9 to 12. I have an exam actually. And it's a final exam for me.
So, what time you want? Like,
अब बताओ कल
same time, ये आज वाला ही time पे?
नहीं हो पाएगा. देखो मैं बताता हूँ क्या है कि 9 बजे मेरा एग्जाम शुरू हो जाएगा.
अच्छा.
राइट. और वो मैं जनरली 2 घंटे में खत्म कर देता हूँ 11 बजे. बट अगर थोड़ा सा आगे निकल गया तो 11:30 पे. कल थोड़ा लेट कर सकते हैं क्लास प्लीज.
Yes, we can even do afternoon batch if it is okay with everyone.
हाँ देख लो कल.
आफ्टरनून में मेरे लिए मुश्किल होगा.
इवनिंग कर सकते हैं क्या?
इवनिंग कितने बजे? 7 o'clock.
देखो if everybody is okay I can do.
Yeah, we can do that, or we can do, अगर आपका एग्जाम खत्म है, we can do 12 also, 12 to 3.
हाँ 12 to 3 करना है ठीक है. It's okay, but I think
12 to 3 नहीं एक्चुअली माय डॉटर्स बर्थडे ना टुमारो, तो या तो आप इवनिंग में या फिर अर्ली मॉर्निंग.
तो एक काम करते हैं. देखो या तो देखो बहुत अर्ली मॉर्निंग तो कोई आ नहीं पाएगा. Can you come very early morning?
नहीं, very early morning would be difficult.
I think evening is fine.
Evening शाम में कर लीजिए.
So 6:30 कर लेते हैं. ठीक है ना?
6:30 वाला कर लीजिए.
See, I'll tell you. I'll do some remaining work on. मुझे थोड़ा सा 2 चीजें आपसे डिस्कस करनी है अभी रिस्क में. One is pestle analysis and another is SWOT. Right? So it will not take more than 10-15 minutes. Right? उसके बाद हमें एक और एरिया कवर करना है, वो है क्वालिटी. क्वालिटी जल्दी कवर हो जाता है, 1.5 hour max. Right? So let's catch up at 7 o'clock. I'll wind up by 8:30.
कल शाम को 7 PM ना?
हाँ, 90 minutes I'll wind up. Right? Thank you. If anyone guys, just one thing. I don't want people to miss. So if anybody has a concern, please drop message on the WhatsApp group. ठीक है? हाँ बोलो क्या कह रहे थे नितिन आप?
कुछ नहीं, 7 PM is fine with me. वो जो हमें जो टूल हमें MS प्रोजेक्ट वगैरह स्टार्ट करना था वो अभी क्या नेक्स्ट वीक?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं किया, आज मेरा एग्जाम था. वो करेंगे जरूर.
ठीक है.
एक बार रिस्क क्वालिटी हो गया करेंगे, वो 100% करेंगे.
ऑलराइट.
Pankaj, how many more classes do we need to?
देखो अभी क्या है यार, देखो सुनो, अभी क्वालिटी हो जाएगा. ठीक है ना? अब मैं कोशिश पूरी करूंगा कि अगले सैटरडे संडे कोर्स पूरा आपका हो जाएगा.
अगले अच्छा नेक्स्ट वीक में हो जाएगा.
हाँ कोर्स हो जाएगा. उसके बाद हम जो कुछ चीज प्रैक्टिस सेशंस हैं वो कर लेंगे. राइट? वैसे जनरली मैं अपने बैचेस के साथ प्रैक्टिस सेशंस अर्ली मॉर्निंग रखता हूँ, बट आई थिंक आपके बैच में कुछ कंसर्न्स हैं. राइट? तो हम देखते हैं कैसे करते हैं. आई डू इट वेरी अर्ली मॉर्निंग, जो कि क्लोन क्वेश्चंस का डिस्कशन है.
तो ये जो MS प्रोजेक्ट वाला वो बाद में करना होगा क्या? करेंगे क्या?
थोड़ा सा एक्स्ट्रा क्लास ले लेंगे ना, क्लास खत्म.
नहीं मतलब नेक्स्ट वीक के बाद में या उसी वीक में?
नेक्स्ट वीक में ही नेक्स्ट वीक में भी कर लेंगे, बाद में भी कर लेंगे. डोंट वरी, वो होगा जरूर. लेंगे 100% होगा यार, चिंता मत करो.
ठीक है.
एक्चुअली पहले कोर्स कंप्लीट कर लेते हैं ना. देखो कल क्वालिटी हो जाएगा, उसके बाद प्रोक्योरमेंट स्टेक होल्डर कम्युनिकेशन एक क्लास में हो जाएगा. राइट? फिर हम प्रैक्टिस करना शुरू करेंगे. इज दैट फाइन?
ओके.
ठीक है. So we'll catch up tomorrow in the evening. If anybody has concern, please drop message on WhatsApp group. Right?